Welcome back again. Yes, to watching us here on the Daily Debate. Once again, I'd like to welcome my guest joining me this evening, Dr. Abdel Wahab Ghoneim, Vice Chairman of the Arab Federation of Digital Economy. Thank you once again, Doctor, for coming in. Let's start first by talking about, in your opinion, what's the importance of digitalization today in light, of course, of the pandemic, and how was that useful to our society during the past period?
Yeah. Let us have a look first for the world economy during pandemic. During pandemic, a lot of shutdowns all over the world, and a lot of economic sectors slowing down, especially tourism, transportation, logistics, and all these things. And most of the countries suffering from their economy stopped, and WHO saying stay home and social distance. How we can deal with our people during pandemic. Most of the countries, their GDP declined, and unemployment increased, inflation rate increased, and the government debt increased. They're suffering a lot. This is the first time. Second, when the vaccines arised, there is unfair distribution of vaccines. Even Secretary General of UN said that 130 countries, they haven't any vaccines. Yeah, this is a black market for the vaccines now. There is uncertainty cases for all over the world. This is the full picture. The only sector win in this game is the high-tech technology sector.
Of course, yes, I can relate.
Yeah, this is the only sector. Yeah. Coming to our lovely country, Egypt. Egypt managed the crisis in a very good manner. In early stages, they have a committee for crisis management executive in the cabinet, chaired by the Prime Minister. They have a look for how China solving and managing the problem in early stage. They have a communication there through the Minister of Health. And even the economic reform and a lot of issues controlled by central bank controlling our economy. The Egyptian economy is diverse. We lost a lot of tourism income, around $14 billion, but we have a lot of other sectors flourishing, like the agriculture, like a lot of things. In Egypt, we declined the GDP rate from 5.6 to 3.5. At that time, all the GDPs for most of the countries all over the world going down zero, by minus. In the Middle East and Africa, only Egypt, their GDP is positive, after China. This is good points. And again, what Egypt did during pandemic, how we saying to our Egyptian people staying home and social distance, we must offer them platforms for education, to teach their students, to doing their exams.
And working as well from home, or going on 3-4 shifts a day.
And even for the employees and businesses, we developing our high-tech infrastructure, speeding and availability of the internet through issuing TIPA-1 satellite. It increased the speed of the internet and connectivity between the old building of government with high cables from fiber optics to offer the people all the services, government services, through mobile apps or through their computers. This is why we overcome and managing this crisis in Egypt in good manner. We're still suffering like the other countries, but in less manner. I think this is how this succeeded by the government and by His Excellency Mr. President Fattah al-Sisi, because he following day by day all the development for the ICT communication and the information security issues regarding the building capacity of the employees, regarding the high-speed internet, regarding the digital transformation services, regarding preparing and sharing all the information between all the government entities and connecting all the databases.
Yes, and that's definitely made a difference. And from here, I would like to ask you then in this regard, how is digital transformation affecting the business environment in Egypt?
Yeah, because the digital transformation not only for the government, even for the businesses.
Exactly.
When you accelerating the availability of internet, you're offering the business to flourishing. He can offering his services to the citizens in digital form.
Yes, pardon me for interrupting you here, but speaking of digital and digitalization and digital form, maybe we need to sort of clarify that to the audience. What does that mean exactly to go digital or to have a digital transformation?
Yeah.
Does it just require you to have an internet connectivity, or does it go beyond that?
Yeah, before we dealing with the government, we dealing through papers, through forms and signing and all these things. Now nothing. We're going from e-government to smart government to sharing government now. It is paperless government. You cannot deal with any paper now. You're only dealing with the databases, with your data there, your information there. They're dealing with you through your mobile apps, through your computer in home, in your office. And even payment, you're paying by your credit cards, payment gateway, and all these things. We developed a lot of payment gateway in Egypt. And most of the banks now going smart banks. They're doing...
and they even made smart cards. I think they call them the Misa cards for those who don't have bank accounts, that they could still through a card.
Yes, they issued
yeah,
5.5
for the limited
million.
Yes.
Yeah,
Income.
we trying to be a society less cash society. How are you going to less cash society? All the payment must be digital payments through mobile apps, through credit card, debit card, and any kind of cards, even through the post office.
You spoke a bit earlier, Dr. Ghoneim, about the database, and I really want to talk about this in specific, because up until very recent years, Egypt was still outdated in terms of database, and that had caused a lot of problems because there was no official database information for each citizen. There was no connectivity between this database and the different ministries or the different entities that the citizen would want to use, and that made things more slow and more difficult. But the president had on several occasions ensured and worked hard, and a lot of transformation happened in the database system here in Egypt. Let's talk more about this booming era, because it is important. It's a shift of culture as well at the same time.
Yeah, before His Excellency Mr. President Fattah al-Sisi issued the digital transformation initiatives, there is a lot of databases scattered in the government, maybe more than 100 scattered databases in all the entities and authorities. How you can connect these databases? When you have a look for these databases, they built since 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, different technologies, different databases, different
information
design.
as well,
Yeah, different and old information. How you can connect this? First of all, you classifying the data. You doing a stage of data cleansing. You cleaning the data. Yeah, checking the data. What's the right, what's the wrong, and you correcting. We now around 90% or 95% correct data. This is the first stage. Second stage, you connecting all these databases in big database. And the key is for any citizen is the ID. Because first of all, when they building database in 30 years, they didn't put our ID.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. For the Ministry of Electricity, the key at that time, the meter number.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
That was the digital. That was the highest ever digital technology
But now,
reached.
now, even if you remember, since 10 years, when you're going to the bank, you're dealing with the bank by your bank account. Now you're dealing with the bank with your ID, because now the ID is the key for any person's, because it is unique number. It is,
and it's a security thing as well. It secures you personally.
This is the first thing. When you're cleaning and cleansing the data for these databases,
it has to go like that. If you take it
connecting-
by name, especially here in Egypt, you have like the same person can have like 1 million people with the same identical name. Names are very common here.
Yeah,
Family names
for
are very common.
Every citizen, every Egyptian citizen have a record for the government. This record, there is a basic record and a lot of records for medical, for education, for his licensing, and all these things. All these connected. It is different databases, but anywhere
they're connected under your ID
sharing,
number.
It looks like one database. Now, the government now dealing with centralized database in new administration capital.
All right, what's that?
Yeah, this is
That's the hub of where everything falls into.
This is a very big data center there. At His Excellency President said it is Egypt Mind. It is big data, it is big building under 14 meter on the ground, secured for earthquake and everything. Had a lot of servers.
That's an artificial intelligence. Maybe you can talk about that.
This is cost around maybe hundreds of millions. All the database is there. You're controlling there, and it is secured by a shield of software under controlling experts there for hacking, for preventing hacking and all these things. And we have a backup center like these centers in different places, maybe 100 kilometers from the cities there.
Are you gonna like spell it out? What exactly? Are you trying to spell it out? Don't spill it out on my show, though.
because you cannot imagine the services of the government stopped.
Definitely.
It is non-stop systems.
And that's something that the whole world is going through now. So we're really lagging behind if we want to talk about that in this per se. But I want to talk about something interesting you also mentioned earlier. And you said that it was this pandemic that made this urge creation for using technology, and it was the boom for the high-tech industry, the pandemic itself. And from here I want to talk more about, I mean, do you think that in light of this digital transformation that's happening in the country, that or that we're going through, that we could be expecting new services, new innovative kind of products to be entering the market with this regard?
Yeah, you know, last year the world spent for digital transformation strategies and projects $1 trillion and $180 billion.
Wow, the world.
Yeah, the world. This is the first time. Even now, the new rulers of the world is the CEOs of the big high-tech companies.
Okay.
When you imagine that Twitter and Facebook shut down the US president accounts, what does that mean? They behaves like superpower. Do you remember that 5 companies for high tech, the market value of it is around $7 trillion.
Yes, of course. We're talking about certain applications have made also billions of dollars because of education sector itself. Everybody started holding meetings on them. We don't want to mention the names because it would be considered ads, but you know the 2 main apps. And everybody went online, classrooms, sessions, meetings. It goes all the way up to even the United Nations meetings. They would use them as well. So
the control of the world now, not the presidents, not the leaders.
It's
the CEOs of the big tech, high-tech companies. 10 of the biggest company in high-tech now, their market value is around $11 trillion, which is around 13% of the globe GDP. They're controlling everything. Our data all over the world, they're controlled by them. Locations, behaviors, data, and everything.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is. But anyway, they're offering a lot of things. Do you remember last year during pandemic, the Zoom, the customers of the Zoom doubled, around 3,000 doubled.
Yeah, but that's one of the apps I was talking about. Of course, that's what I was saying. Yeah, you don't have to mention
these platforms
yes,
for connectivity.
Of course, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we would never have heard about them before this pandemic.
Nothing at
and they were
all.
actually
Before
very
pandemic,
successful.
nothing using for these things.
Now, when we're talking about technology and high tech, we're talking about artificial intelligence playing a major role today, and that it is so powerful, if I may say, to an extent that it could be freaky at times. So, how far has artificial intelligence being used, and how much more can Egypt benefit from artificial intelligence, especially when we're talking about facing infrastructure challenges, for instance, and so forth?
What is the artificial intelligence? First of all, Dr. Klaus Schwab, the founder and the president of World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, said that the fourth industrial revolution shall change the shape of the world, the shape of the products, and the shape of the production of the products. What does that mean? Most of the products now shall be smart products. How it comes like that? There is organization which issues the IP addresses for the internet. Last year, they issued 31 billion IP address. How many of these 31 billions used by the persons like us? 5 billion people use that. It means 26 billion IP addresses used by machines. What are these machines? It is smart machines, smart cameras, smart cities for controlling the whole world.
And that's why I mentioned specifically it's becoming freaky, because the fact that you do not have control over the use of technology, and that the machine would actually tell you what to do and what not to do.
How they can controlling these within few applications. One of them is artificial intelligence, but the first one is big data analysis or big data analytics. Now the data in the globe is around 45 yottabyte. Yottabyte, it means 1 and 24 zeros.
Wow.
Yeah, very big. How you collecting this data, analyzing this data in piece of second. This is applications for the fourth industrial revolution. This is why we need our people, our students, to know the data industry, how to collect the data, how to classify the data, how to analyze the data.
Yes, I mean, that you're very true, because I mean, it just recalls me, I use Siri on a daily basis. Actually, me and Siri have become very good friends recently, and she would even ask about me, so if I don't ask her a question. So yes, this is true, because it's just in a fraction of a second that you can get all this list of information that you need.
Yeah, when you're searching for...
So this is data analysis, and that comes first before artificial intelligence. One of the reasons.
The people in the world searching for one day around 8.5 billion search. Wow. 3.5 billion search only on Google itself.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, this is huge data.
Huge.
Second is artificial intelligence, AI, as you said. The artificial intelligence, when you collect all these things, all this data and the information, they have a look, what's the behavior of the people? What the people need? What's the people talking? Analyzing this data, and they get the decision to the decision maker.
And that's the same thing, I mean, gives you the implication that when you start to look for something, or you have a conversation, and then suddenly you find all the advertisings, all the news feeds is all about this certain thing, and it becomes a bit freaky that you've been actually heard by your phone. We're going to talk more about that, because there is this very thin line between really depending on technology and between technology taking over your willpower when it comes to that. But let's talk about a very interesting thing, and we have a report coming up. Egypt to inaugurate the new administrative capital by the end of 2021, and the president specifically spoke yesterday, during the Martyrs' Day, that this will be a huge change for Egypt, and it will be the new Egypt, if we may say so. Let's take a look at this.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that Egypt is expected to officially inaugurate its new administrative capital, known as the NAC, by the end of this year, while the government services there are set to start operating on an experimental basis in August 2021. During a meeting with the cabinet to follow up on preparations for the anticipated opening, Madbouli stated that the experimental operation will begin after government employees are relocated to the NAC. The Prime Minister said the experimental operation aims to ensure that all facilities at the NAC's buildings are available before the official inauguration of the 700 square kilometre city takes place. Madbouli ordered the immediate start of coordination to hold an inauguration that lives up to this giant project and implement the government's plan to relocate employees. During the meeting, he was briefed on the details related to the inauguration ceremony, including the occasion's proposed schedule, as well as the events expected to be included and the delegations expected to attend. Madbouli said that a tour will be conducted inside the new administrative capital to determine the most appropriate place for the ceremony before a plan is presented to the president. Built on 1.5 million square meters, the NAC boasts a government district that will house 10 ministerial complexes grouping together 34 ministries, in addition to the headquarters of the Cabinet and House of Representatives. Madbouli called for highlighting the high-speed electric railway and monorail projects, aiming to facilitate access to the NAC from different parts of the country. The new administrative capital is located 60 kilometers from the Cairo-Suez and Cairo-Ain al-Sukhna roads, launched in 2015 by President Abdel al-Sisi, and is set to house 6.5 million people.
Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on the Daily Debate, joined with Dr. Abdel Ghoneim, Vice Chairman of the Arab Federation of Digital Economy. Now, Dr. Ghoneim, before we went out to this report, we're going to talk more about the inauguration of the new administrative capital because, as you said, there's going to be a technology hub in there, digital technology database in there. But let's first talk about it becomes very triggering, the fact that we're so pro-technology. Maybe in the break we were talking about how we can't live a day without using technology or getting connected online. We feel lost or disconnected if we're not there, to a fact that it's become really scary about the privacy aspect of the use of technology, and specifically artificial intelligence. So let's talk more about security and privacy of the use of technology.
I think no privacy now in this technological world now, because all our data known everywhere. Even your location, even your data, personal data, even your hobbies, even your behaviors. All these things now, they are collecting by different methods, through cameras, through social media, through everything, even through phones. This is the first time. Second, the privacy and security is connected to each other. But anyway, there is a lot of hacking methods, and hackers and crackers, they're trying to hacking the people. There is a lot of hacking coming from Asia, coming from Russia, even, I remember during Trump election, they hacked. During the French election, they hacked. During the Indian election, they hacked. They're controlling the world through hackers. What it means, hackers? Hackers, it is highly sophisticated people doing software and know how he can going through your operating system, your applications, through your mails, to get your pictures, to get your data, to get your or to access your computer.
Well, as long as they're not going to get my money, then that's okay, because it gets worse.
No, most of the banks all over the world daily loses money, but they cannot declare that. Even you encrypting your data, you have very high security issues, you have a privilege for entering the applications, but anywhere, the hackers, they have a lot of methods for hacking. When they target bank, they target people, they target any famous person, not targeting by one person, a lot of people targeting at the same time. They must have within hours, within few days, a very small gap to enter your computer. When he going inside, he controlling everything. He can damage, he can get copy, he can doing everything. You cannot stop them.
Then we can say that there is a downturn and a disadvantage, a great disadvantage to the use of technology or digitalization in general in this regard. And from here, what do you recommend should be done? Because you said very ironically at the beginning is that the CEOs of the high-tech companies are now actually
controlling the world,
economy.
Yeah, sure.
So, and it seems to be that there's no regulations or a kind of a legal international framework that would be able to penalize people in charge of technology for the misuse of the information, whether it's hackers who are doing it individually or them themselves. What is the legal process that should be done?
For the world economy, they're suffering from the hacking. There is some countries have laws against the hacking, against the cyber crimes. But some countries, they haven't till now laws.
And some hackers are actually hacking from outside the country, so they're not there anyway.
This is most of them staying in
other
countries.
places,
You cannot knowing where they are hacking from. They have big computers, very high power processing there. They have capabilities there. They are very intelligent people. They are organized, and I think against them some police, some crimes, because for money laundering, the suffering from these things, for the drugs and all these things.
Yes.
Yeah, they protect this, and even for the black money in the world. Do you remember for the cryptocurrency? Within these days, the Bitcoin is over $5,000. When it issued, it is before, since 11 years, it is less than $1. Now it costs...
I think it's 50,000, more than 50,000.
More than $50,000 now.
Yeah.
They are expecting by the end of this year exceeds 100,000.
Wow.
The Bitcoins and all the cryptocurrencies, they haven't any coverage from any central bank. Even the IMF said since 4 years it is illegal.
But they seem to be working well. They have a market. They have a huge market.
This is the market.
Let's go back again to the new administrative capital and the peaceful use of technology and artificial intelligence. And we know that there's going to be a knowledge hub or a knowledge center or a knowledge city as a huge project at the new administrative capital. How is that going to be useful? What's different about it? Especially that it's the first of its kind in the region and in Africa.
The knowledge city in new administrative capital, it is the icon there. It is a huge technology park like Silicon Valley in America. It has startups. It has digital university. It has headquarters for the biggest high-tech companies. It has research centers. It has research centers for disabled people. It has a lot of diverse activities relating to information technology. It has a lot of institution for capacity building for the employees, for the people. And it has Silicon Valley for training the people.
I'm very glad you mentioned training people, because this is one of the aspects that needs to be taking place here, especially as you're working on renovations in institutions in the governmental or public sectors, and a lot of training needs to be taken in this regard. How important is it to train employees frequently to be updated with the use of technology?
Yeah, anyway, for the fourth industrial revolution, return it back to Dr. Klaus Schwab, he said...
Seem to be very inspired by him.
50% for the traditional jobs will disappear.
Such as? Because traditional ranges all the way from being doctors,
like
surgeons,
the accountants, drivers, and all these things. And at the same time, around 50% for new jobs will create it. What are these new jobs? These new jobs, it needs intelligent applications, it needs mobile applications, it needs security issues, it needs big data analytics, it needs robots, it needs controlling the drones. Yeah, all this is why we're preparing our students, new students graduated in these new fields. We must have universities specialized in artificial intelligence, in data analysis, in Internet of Things, because you know, all the smart cities controlled by things like sensors. And all these sensors has IP addresses. They're controlling the traffic, the power, the climate, the security. Everything in the smart city is controlled within Internet of Things. This is why we must prepare our youth for international job, not only for local job, not only searching to work in any government sector. This is why we training all these students there in these institutions for these new technologies, because we need to stand as the European countries and as any developing countries like China. China now, as economy, 35 from its economy through the digital economy. Because the traditional economy, like the oil, selling the oil, selling the agriculture and products, these things, not highly profit, not highly revenue. Because this year, the global economy is around $88 trillion. Around $13 trillion is digital economy. What's the digital economy? It is e-commerce. It is high-tech companies. The e-commerce last year is around $11.7 trillion. Around $7 trillion B2B, business to business, around 4.2 B2C, business to consumer. Because most of the people now selling or purchasing their products from e-commerce platforms. It is local or global. This is why we must transfer our economy from traditional economy to digital economy. This is why for Knowledge City we're preparing the students there, the startups there, the entrepreneurship there. You have a technology park, they training themselves. We trained around 50,000 government employees. They moved within 6 months to the new administrative capital. They're working and controlling all these databases. They're working and controlling all the government services all over Egypt. This is why I think the Egyptian government going towards new technologies for the education, for the interactive education, even in schools and in high schools.
So the whole point is when the president stressed yesterday about how this is going to be the new face of Egypt. It's not just a piece of land that is just built on a very modern, sophisticated and smart infrastructure, but the fact that it's moving or shifting Egypt to a whole digital level, and an updated level is basically what was really meant by the symbolism of this new
His Excellency said it will be new republic.
because
Yeah.
people don't understand what that meant. So it's not about the visuality
Yeah,
of
it is
it.
not only moving
It's-
from
it's
from
about
the
the
middle
kind
of
of
Cairo to there.
very
No.
different
I
service
think
that will be provided.
we changing all the culture there. Culture, living highly secured, controlled by technology. All the services online.
But that's the thing, because people, and we're going to talk about citizen level here, but people are not really aware. They think that this is built for a certain category of the society, but that's not the case, because when all the government buildings are being moved there and everything that will be there will be digital, it's going to port and link into the rest of the governorates and the rest of Egypt. So it's not like the new administrative capital is going to be a new republic and forget about the rest of Egypt, but that's where the heart is going to be, and it's going to be pumping back into database-wise and digital-wise to the rest of the citizens living in the rest of the country.
There is a lot of challenges facing the digital transformation experiments all over the world.
Such as?
Yeah, the security issues. Most of the people suffering from security issues.
Such as?
Yeah, the digital divide. The culture for dealing with the digitalization, it needs a culture.
You're
it needs
absolutely right.
Years to change the culture.
I think it's the will, really, Doctor, because, I mean, maybe I belong to a generation that's very proactive to technology, yet
Yeah.
I don't have the will at times to deal with technology, and I find it very sophisticated and difficult. Even if I have to upload, download applications to use my bankings. But once I started doing that, it becomes an addiction, and that you become very well acquainted with it. So I think it's just that people need to come out of their comfort zone and give themselves a chance to depend on technology and not be scared to use it. And it's not that sophisticated as they think it might be, maybe.
Yeah, I think...
Does that need awareness campaigns?
Yeah, a lot of things, the government must do it. The first...
To force you to do it, you mean? You have no other option, but you have to use?
No, they offering the
platform?
services in different ways, in omni-channels. Mobile applications, computers, even the build technology shops, you must go in there to get your service. Yeah, and even the traditional way, still there. It is not, but anywhere
yes, of course. You still have people standing in lines in banks because they still want to go do something that they can do it on the machine. They refuse.
Still a lot of people using cash money.
Yes.
When you're saying paying through your mobile apps, no, I must cash. Using cash.
I mean, at certain districts in Egypt, they find it very difficult when you order something and you have to tell the delivery man, please let me know because I don't have cash. And you just look like you live in a huge house and you don't have cash. So you have to explain to him that I use credit cards, sir, I don't have cash. Well, it becomes easier because nobody can come steal you anyway, because they know that they will only find credit cards.
It is controlled.
Yeah,
it is controlled.
It is controlled. One last thing we need to talk about, because you have 2 minutes before we unfortunately end. The future information of communication technologies in Egypt. How do you see it with this fast leap of stages, or steps rather, that Egypt is taking?
I think this pandemic, it is a very success point for Egypt, because we're developing our platforms for education, developing our platforms for the governments. We're developing even the infrastructure. The first thing, or the biggest thing for digital transformation, is the infrastructure. You have more than 100 billions spent on to develop infrastructure. You have a lot of fiber optics cables, you have satellites, you have trained the people, you have a building capacity for a lot of government employees, and even for connecting these databases and doing new business models for all the services. For Digital Egypt platforms now around 45 serves. By the end of 2 years, it must be around 550 digital serves.
Wow, that's going to be quite a big number.
I think we must wait for another couple of years. We're moving. I think Egypt will be the pivotal country in Africa and in the Middle East in economy and everything.
Thank you very much. Dr. Abdel Wahab Ghoneim, Vice Chairman of the Arab Federation of Digital Economy. Thank you for joining me
Thank you.
on the Daily Debate. That brings us to the end of our episode of the Daily Debate. Thank you for watching.